Welcome to Justice For, a true crime podcast hosted by two besties from Colorado, focused on bringing justice to victims by telling their stories. New episodes released every Tuesday on all major podcast platforms and YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube so you'll never miss an episode. Trigger warning, this is a true crime podcast that does contain adult language, adult themes, and some content may be disturbing for some viewers. So please watch and listen with discretion. Halloween has changed so much since we were kids. I remember dressing up as whatever favorite Disney character I had at the time. Oh, and once I actually dressed up as a pimp with like a cane and all. My mother allowed this.
It was the 2000s. Mike and I talk all the time about how our parents were okay with the pimp culture in the 2000s.
It was amazing.
It was.
It was like a purple zebra print. I'm sure she has pictures. I'll find some. But... so we were dressed up, and we would go to every single house in our neighborhood before they ran out of candy.
And then me and my friends would switch costumes and go back.
Why didn't we ever do that?
Just saying.
Also in Colorado, you had to decide what costume you had based on what could go over your jacket.
See, and I was in Virginia, and we didn't have that problem. And when I moved out here, I wore like a normal costume. And when we showed up at our friend's house, the dad like laughed and was like, "Go get her some layers."
Yeah. yeah. So we would get a big group of kids and be running in the streets and getting all excited for all of the candy we were about to get. But of course, our parents were trailing right behind us, making sure we weren't getting into too much trouble, and of course saying thank you at each house.
Your parents went trick-or-treating with you?
She sure did.
Yeah.
My mama did.
Oh.
My parents wouldn't let us go alone.
Yeah.
When I was little, they did, but then after a while, me and my friends just kind of ran all over the neighborhood while the parents were at parties in the neighborhood.
That's fair. That's totally fair. But each year, our parents were reminded to check our candy to make sure nothing weird had been done to it.
Yeah.
Even to this day, parents are told to check their kids' candy. But do you know why?
I was always told it was needles.
Okay. Today, we're
Drugs.
telling you and you.
I know nothing.
So I guess I'm telling you about one of the most chilling true crime stories you may never have heard of. It's a case that rocked the United States and forever changed how parents approach Halloween. Welcome back to Justice For. We are your host.
I am Ted Lasso.
And I am Lord Farquaad. Some of you may die. But that... damn it, what is the line?
But that is a
sacrifice
I am willing to make.
Yep, thank you. So, if any episode is a good one to watch on YouTube, it's this one.
And on that note, happy Halloween.
Yes. We are 2 days away from Halloween, my favorite.
So I asked Sam to bring us a spooky Halloween episode because I don't know a lot. I don't do horror movies, but Sam does.
Seriously, she doesn't.
I don't.
She messaged me recently. She's like, guess what I just watched?
It was Friday the 13th, guys. For like the... No. Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's what it was.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
The original one?
Yeah.
As it should be.
Because,
Dude, I
quote...
that mustache.
For those who are listening, I'm wearing a mustache. And it might not stay for very long because it's not wanting to stay. Anyway,
I have beautiful gloves and I can't do anything with them.
So,
yeah.
I remember watching Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And I looked at Mike and I was like, oh, this was made in the 80s, so it's going to be so cheesy. And then the first murdery scene happened and I was like, oh my God. And he goes, so by the way, this is one of the most renowned horror directors in history. And I was like, I seen that. And then they took Johnny Depp away from me.
Dude,
no one told me.
The being sucked into the bed scene gave me nightmares for so long.
Nobody told me first that Johnny Depp was in it.
Oh.
And then no one told me he died.
Spoiler alerts.
Okay, legit. If you... Y'all.
It's been literally 40 years.
I know it has.
Yeah, so I'm very excited.
We're talking about the Candyman.
Is this the when you stand in the mirror and you say Candyman 3 times?
No.
What's that one?
There's a few like that, I'm pretty sure. So I know Bloody Mary is like that.
Oh,
I
is it
think-
Bloody... But is
so-
the Candyman also similar to somebody...
Actually, yes, there is a new movie that has that kind of thing in it, but it has nothing to do with this.
I just remember, like, being in the bathroom when you were kids with the lights off and you, like, said Candyman, like, 3 times, and then... I don't know.
We did Bloody Mary. We're not the same.
No.
We also did Bloody Mary.
And you know what? That could just be East Coast versus middle of the
Colorado.
freaking country.
Probably. But this story today is about betrayal, greed, and horror, where the unimaginable became reality. Ronald Clark O'Brien was born on October 19th of 1944 in Texas. He married a woman named, I'm pretty positive her name is Deneen. I'm so sorry.
What an interesting way to spell that,
Yeah,
though.
it's spelled interesting. And also, like, I have nothing on her.
It looks like Nadine, but
A little
Nadine.
bit, but Deneen. Her name is Deneen. Anyway, and together they had 2 children, Timothy and Elizabeth. The O'Briens were a middle-class family living in Deer Park, Texas, a suburb of Houston. Ronald worked as an optician and served as a deacon at a Baptist church, where he sang in the choir and oversaw the bus program.
Okay.
Those who knew him considered him a model citizen and described him as quiet and somewhat reserved man. One pastor even described him, quote, as a good Christian man and an above-average father.
Okay.
It's a little strange to say about someone, but it's fine.
Yeah, like, an above-average father?
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
What makes you an average father?
Well, is the What, you said he was born in 1940, or this is the
He was
1940?
born in 1944.
Okay. So we're in the 50s, 60s,
70s.
70s now? Okay.
So, let's go to October 31st, 1974.
Okay.
To the night that turned Halloween from a time of fun and candy into a terrifying reminder that danger sometimes lurks too close to home. Ronald, like many other parents in the neighborhood, was overly eager to take his children, 8-year-old Timmy and 5-year-old Elizabeth, out trick-or-treating. They were joined by another family friend named Jim Bates and his 2 children. The kids excitedly went door to door collecting candy from their neighbors. Everything seemed completely normal and fun, but when they reached a particular house, no one answered the door at first. The group started to walk away, but Ronald stayed behind for a moment and soon rejoined the group with 5 large pixie sticks, which he claimed the homeowner opened the door when they had walked away and given him the candy. He handed the candy to his children, Timmy and Elizabeth, and then to the other children in the group, keeping 1 pixie stick for a child from church. I also read in another source that he may have actually given this one to a different trick-or-treater that came to the door. So, but then I also heard or read that it was a kid from church that was trick-or-treating at the door.
Okay. But he gave out the 5 big pixie sticks.
It was another child, okay? Yes. And these are like, not the little pixie
Yeah,
sticks.
like the big ones.
They're the big ones.
Like, yeah.
The big plastic tubes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, as it got darker outside, houses started running out of candy, bags full and heavy. They were all happy to call it a night and head home. Once home, the kids were very eager to enjoy their candy. Elizabeth decided to have some chocolate, while Timmy decided he really wanted that pixie stick. So Ronald, of course, was like, absolutely, but you only get 1 piece before bed. And he opened it for Timmy and he started eating it. After Timmy tasted the powdered candy, he complained that it was bitter. His father gave him Kool-Aid to wash it down, but just moments later, Timmy began having unbearable stomach pain and then collapsed and started convulsing and vomiting uncontrollably.
Holy shit.
His parents tried to help him and they called 911. The ambulance showed up and immediately did everything they could to help him. They got him into the truck and started rushing to the hospital. Unfortunately, Timmy died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital.
No.
Within an hour of eating a harmless pixie stick, Timothy Mark O'Brien was dead. At first, authorities were baffled. How could a child die so suddenly? What happened to make him fall so violently ill and die so quickly? The medical examiner said that when his body was brought to the morgue, the smell of almonds was coming from his mouth. If you know anything about poison, you will know exactly what happened to Timmy.
I apparently know nothing about poison.
Okay, well, I'm about to tell you. Don't you worry. Timmy had ingested cyanide.
Oh, shit.
A highly lethal poison which usually smells like almonds after it's been ingested. He actually had enough potassium cyanide in his system to kill 3 grown men.
I mean, as a jumbo-ass pixie stick, you gotta make sure it's all in there. Mm-hmm. And those are really easy to open and reseal.
Panic swept through the community. Was there someone going around poisoning Halloween candy? Were all of the children at risk?
I really do enjoy how quickly they got to that conclusion in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, instead of, like, going after the parents.
Yeah. The investigation into Timothy O'Brien's death started immediately. Law enforcement officials, terrified that this could be a widespread threat, scrambled to find out if other children had been given any tainted candy. They quickly retrieved the pixie stick Ronald handed out that night. Fortunately, not unfortunately this time, none of the other children had consumed theirs, and investigators found that the top 2 inches of the pixie stick had been dumped out and replaced by cyanide and resealed using staples.
Oh, it's back when they stapled the top of them?
Yep.
Not when they sealed them.
Correct.
Oh, is this now why they seal pixie sticks now?
That's part of it.
Probably.
There was also a report that one of the kids fell asleep with a pixie stick in their hand, but like tried eating it before going to bed, but fell asleep trying to get it open. Yes. They asked Ronald and Jim, the friend, to recount their nights and retrace their steps. When authorities dug deeper, they started noticing inconsistencies in Ronald's story. He claimed he couldn't remember which house had given out the tainted candy. He says they weren't in their own neighborhood and it was dark out, so he just can't remember. He finally narrowed down a house to 4112 Donnerell Road. The owner of the house is C.E. Melvin. He's an air dispatcher at a local airport. The police question him, and he tells them he was actually working on Halloween night, so there's no way that he would have been giving out any candy. And he wasn't even home.
Be so fucking for real right now.
Mm-hmm. So.
No.
No
like,
what?
Keep going.
Okay. Suspicion soon began to fall on Ronald himself. So C.E. was rolled out because he was at work. After searching the O'Brien home, they found a pocket knife that had pixie stick dust on it. They confronted Ronald, and he said he was innocent and that a heartless monster did this to his boy. Despite his steady job, his life wasn't as stable as it appeared from the outside. In reality, Ronald had difficulty holding down a job. He was employed by 21 different companies over a 10-year period.
Damn.
And he was fired from each of them for negligence or fraudulent behavior. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not liking little Roger Pooh.
Ronald.
My bad.
In the fall of 1974, so right before all this happened, he was on the brink of being fired again by his employer. So,
what is he doing? Do you know? Like, how can we be, like...
They suspected him of stealing money.
Okay, I was about to say, it has to be something similar at each of these jobs.
His salary was $150 a week. And that barely covered food and rent. And it was later discovered that he was in more than $100,000 in debt.
In the 70s?
In the 70s.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
In the 70s. He had defaulted on several bank loans, and his car was on the verge of being repossessed. There's more.
I'm ready.
Investigators also discovered that Ronald had recently taken out life insurance policies on both of his children. $20,000
He's
for
so
Timothy.
fucking for real.
I'm being so fucking for real right now. $20,000 for Timothy and Elizabeth, which when combined with other policies totaled to be about $60,000.
Once again, a lot of money in the 70s.
Here's something even more damning. In the months leading up to Halloween, Ronald had contacted multiple chemical supply stores asking about cyanide. Yeah. This new information pointed to a chilling conclusion. Ronald had poisoned his own son for financial gain.
What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Well, just kidding. Jackie was trying to condemn some, or, give praises somewhere for not assumptions on a parent.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. On November 5th of 1974, Ronald O'Bryan was arrested and charged with the murder of his son Timothy. He was given a polygraph test and failed.
Shocking.
I mean, it's also the 70s. A polygraph in the 70s is probably like even worse than what they are now. But the media quickly dubbed him the Candyman and the man who killed Halloween. His arrest shocked the nation, especially because of the horrifying betrayal of a father deliberately killing his own son.
And I'm sure gave plenty ideas to other people.
At trial, the prosecution painted a devastating picture. Ronald had been struggling financially and saw an opportunity to solve his problems by killing his son and collecting the insurance money. To make it look random, he handed out poisoned candy to other children, hoping to divert suspicion from himself. Again, thankfully, none of the other children touched their pixie sticks. Witnesses testified that Ronald had been asking about cyanide and poison for months before Timothy's death. A chemist even testified that Ronald had spoken to him about how much cyanide it would take to kill a person.
Because these are normal questions.
Dumb criminals. There was no doubt about Ronald's motive. He had put his financial gain above the life of his own children. The defense, on the other hand, tried to argue that someone else must have poisoned the candy and that Ronald was being wrongfully accused, but the evidence was overwhelming. On June 3rd, 1975, after less than an hour of deliberation, the jury found Ronald Clark O'Bryan guilty of capital murder.
Holy shit.
And 4 counts of attempted murder, and he was then sentenced to death.
Okay.
Yeah, 70s don't play around.
Yo, 70s are not fucking around.
Ronald O'Bryan spent nearly a decade on death row, appealing his conviction and maintaining his innocence. But on March 31st, 1984, he was executed by lethal injection at the Texas State Penitentiary in Huntsville.
Dang, okay.
They really weren't playing around.
No, they were not playing around with him.
So this next part I'm going to read to you is actually from a Gazette article that was released on the day of his death.
Okay.
So, it's kind of old. Quote, "We as human beings do make mistakes and errors," Mr. O'Bryan, 39 years old, said calmly as he lay strapped to a stretcher on wheels in the death chamber, needles in his arm. "This execution is one of those wrongs," he said, "but it doesn't mean the whole system of justice is wrong. Therefore, I forgive all. I do mean all. Those of you who have been involved in my death. If any of my 39 years," Mr. O'Bryan said, "I have offended anyone, I hope they will forgive me as I forgive them. I also pray and ask God's forgiveness for all of us respectively as human beings." His last words were, "God bless you all, and may God's best blessings be always yours."
Oh, yeah, I forgot he was a deacon.
A little bit more from the article. Mr. O'Bryan yawned, his chest heaved, and his eyes rolled after the mixture of drugs flowed into his veins. He gasped, and seconds later there was a gurgling, choking sound as if he was clearing his throat. He was pronounced dead at 12:48 a.m., 10 minutes after the deadly solution began flowing into his body.
I mean, for once, they're going out the way that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's a nice little poetic justice right there.
Absolutely. And the only thing I could find on his wife was this quote right here.
Okay.
Like,
that's it. I mean,
I could find nothing about her.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So this was a quote she told the Houston Chronicle. Quote, "He made his bed and now he's having to lie in it. I have no pity for him."
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, snaps right there. Love her.
Mm-hmm. Outside the prison, a crowd of 300 demonstrators gathered. Some held signs in support of his execution, while others held banners protesting the death penalty.
Oh.
The image of Ronald O'Bryan, the man who poisoned his own child for money, had become a symbol of evil. After O'Brien's conviction, Halloween was never the same for many families. The story of poison candy led to widespread fear that strangers might be handing out deadly treats, even though O'Brien's crime was a targeted act against his own son. The community also started a Halloween safety program to teach parents methods of evaluating safety of door-to-door treats. The urban legend of tainted Halloween candy grew, despite the fact that O'Brien's case was the only substantiated instance of a child dying from poisoned candy. To this day, parents are cautious about their children's Halloween candy, checking for tampering and staying wary of the dangers that might lurk. But Ronald's crime stands out not just for its horror, but for the betrayal of trust. A father murdering his own child, the very person he was meant to protect. The case of Ronald is a haunting reminder of how greed can drive people to commit the most unspeakable acts, and how a single night meant for fun and joy can be transformed into a nightmare. As Halloween comes around each year, the fear that lingers in the back of many parents' minds is in part due to this case. But let's not forget that this was an isolated event, and most of the fear surrounding Halloween candy tampering is largely unfounded. There is actually no evidence that a child has ever been seriously injured or killed by contaminated Halloween candy. The idea that strangers poison Halloween candy is considered an urban legend. In recent years, there have been reports of drug-laced candy, but none have resulted in serious injuries. I'm going to take you through a few of those stories now.
Because I was about to say, like, every year, we always see one or two cases popping up somewhere. Mm-hmm. Local, another state, a needle, this, an open, like, but nothing ever comes out of it. You don't ever see an arrest. You don't ever see a kid that's hurt or anything. It's just always, it's floating around on social media, or a news station says something, but you never really know if it's something that actually happened. It's just a parent said it.
Yep. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm
ready.
ready
For these stories?
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to do this.
I have a lot, actually. Hope you're ready.
Okay.
So, in 1959, William Shine, a dentist in California, handed out candy-coated laxative pills to trick-or-treaters. He was charged with outrage of public decency and unlawful dispensing of drugs.
What year was that?
1959.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a kid in 6th grade did that to one of our teachers? Put laxatives in her coffee. He got in a lot of trouble.
I bet he did. Jesus. All right. In 1964, a woman in Long Island handed out Halloween packages of inedible objects to teenagers who she believed were too old to be trick-or-treating. She would give candy to the kids, but if a teenager came, she would give them a package that had dog biscuits, steel wool balls, and buttons that were covered in poison. But you're not gonna eat a fucking button. Like, why? No one's gonna eat any of that. But she was like trying to do it as like showing them.
I
hate that
I don't
stigma.
like people who don't let teens trick or treat.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what they could be doing?
Mm-hmm.
I would so much rather see a group of teens coming up to my door trick or treating.
Yes.
And knowing that they are just running around being safe and not off doing teenage shenanigans shit.
Absolutely.
Like, I've never gotten the, you're too old to trick-or-treat.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I quit trick-or-treating at 18, and I had my daughter at 21 and was right back at it at 22.
Hell yeah, brother.
It was great. I only missed, 3 years.
This woman was prosecuted for this as well.
Okay.
Just because of the poison part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Detroit in 1970. A 5-year-old named Kevin Toston died of a heroin overdose 4 days after Halloween. His family said it must have been in his Halloween candy. Police analyzed it and actually found that it had traces of heroin sprinkled on it. The case was heavily reported on as a 5-year-old dies after someone hands out candy laced with heroin. So, of course, parents began frantically throwing out their children's Halloween candy. Panic spread everywhere, but after some investigation, police concluded that Kevin had actually just found his uncle's heroin stash at home and consumed it thinking it was candy. When the police figured out that he died from heroin, they sprinkled it onto the candy to protect the uncle.
That's where I figured that was going.
Uh-huh.
Wait. Did you say you said police sprinkled it on? Did
No,
you mean
His
his
parents.
parents?
Yeah, when the police figured it out,
When the police figured it out.
they had sprinkled it over top of
Yes.
it so that they could explain it away.
Yeah.
Okay,
So when the
I
parents
misunderstood.
figured out he died from heroin, they sprinkled it on the candy to protect the uncle. In fact, if you were to Google Kevin Toston's name, you can actually still see headlines that say Halloween candy suspected in death of boy, and 5-year-old died after eating heroin laced candy, despite the fact that no one actually handed out any candy laced with drugs. In 1982, a doctor misread lab results and told the public that he tended to a sick child who had been fed cyanide-laced Halloween candy, which caused another panic. Later, the FDA tested the candy and it turned up with zero contamination at all. Although, this was not published in the news like the initial statement was. I'm not done. We're still going.
I figured
We're still
you
going.
weren't.
In 1990, 7-year-old Ariel Katz died while trick-or-treating. The Santa Monica police announced a mass random poisoning and went door to door, blocked off streets, and confiscated everyone's candy in the area. It later came out that she had actually died of congenital heart failure.
Police jumped the gun on that. Jesus.
No Halloween candy was involved at all. But for a week, they had spread mass panic, literally taking kids' Halloween
This is
candy.
why it has gone the way it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm not done yet. Girl, we just in 1990.
Oh, Lord.
Yep. 1991. 31-year-old Kevin Cherry died after indulging in his kids' Halloween candy. Once the news broke, parents dumped out all of their kids' Halloween candy. But after his autopsy, they found out that Kevin had died of natural causes, and there was no poison found in his body at all. Halloween, 1994. A 3-year-old in New Britain, Connecticut was diagnosed with cocaine poisoning, and the media immediately ran with tampered Halloween candy. About a week later, police announced that they found no trace of cocaine in any of the candy in the house. I'm assuming that they maybe had some in the house and he just somehow got a hold of it. Somehow.
Yeah.
So, in 2000, in Hercules, California, kids came home from trick-or-treating with Snicker bars that had little packets of marijuana in them.
Oh.
Everyone...
That's not the one I thought it was.
Huh?
I said that's not the one I thought it was.
The one you're thinking of is next. Everyone freaked out, thinking someone was trying to make the kids eat marijuana.
Which, why? Unless it was an edible. Why?
Yeah. So, also, people don't just give out free drugs.
Dare lied to us.
You'd have lied to us.
I have been an adult for, I can't do that math right now, but over 10 years.
Sure.
And, 15 years.
16.
And listen, never once have I been offered free drugs.
Yeah.
Never once. You gotta pay for that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, Dare lied.
I agree. However, the homeowner who handed out these Snickers was really confused when the police came to him and questioned him. He told them that he was actually a postal worker and there was a lost package of Snickers at work, so he brought them home to hand out so he didn't have to stop at the store and get some. The police realized someone was actually trying to smuggle weed in Snickers packages, but the package had gotten lost. Yeah, it's fucking wild. So, also in 2000, in Minneapolis, 49-year-old James Joseph Smith placed needles
There we go.
into Snickers bars and handed them out to children on Halloween. He was charged with 1 count of adulterating a substance with intent to cause harm, death, or illness. In 2001, in Vancouver, a 4-year-old named Tiffany Trung died the day after Halloween. Police immediately issued an alert to get rid of any Halloween candy in the area. Everyone was in a frenzy, but the cause of death was natural causes and it had nothing to do with Halloween candy. Statistically, it is actually pretty rare for someone to be giving out poisoned candy. But it's actually more probable that you will bite down on a needle hidden in Halloween candy. According to Professor Joel Best, there have been approximately 80 reports of sharp objects inserted into Halloween candy since 1959. However, the majority of these instances turned out to be pranks from family or friends.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
See, and that's one that I've read the most is the needles and like the razor blades like inside, and it was the Snickers. Like, I can't tell you how many pieces of candy over the past 11 years with Nicole that it's had like a barely opening or something like that, and I'm all, and we're done.
Yeah. So, no one has actually died from a stranger poisoning their Halloween candy. And if your candy is poisoned, it's probably by someone you know, not a random stranger.
Which is terrifying.
You might get a scratch or an unpleasant bite from a needle in your candy, but once again, statistically, it's probably someone you know playing a bad prank.
Y'all, pranks that harm people aren't pranks.
So, due to their fears, parents and communities restricted trick-or-treating and developed alternative safe events such as trunk-or-treat events held at most Christian churches or safe trick-or-treating offered by many local malls. The myth of poisoned or tampered with candy has distracted parents from the primary safety risk on Halloween, which is children being killed by cars. In the U.S., young children ages 4 to 8 are 10 times more likely to be killed by a car on Halloween than on any other day of the year. Children of all ages 0 to 17, are 3 times as likely to be killed by a vehicle on Halloween than during the rest of the year.
I've never thought about that.
Just running through the streets.
Yeah, but I never, yeah.
Yeah. So, I'll get into the rest in just a moment, but
I feel educated. I didn't know any of that. And now, well, Halloween's been a lie. My whole life. Been lying to my kid.
bro, we've been lying to other people.
Everyone's just been lying to everybody. Mass hysteria in the media.
The thing is, they just don't know.
No, I feel so educated.
Yeah.
I feel so educated.
And I feel like when you're talking about, harming children, of course people are going to freak the fuck out. But there's nothing that has ever actually been done by a stranger that has caused death for Halloween candy.
I'm glad we're doing this before Halloween. We're prepping, y'all.
Isn't
we're
that
prepping.
crazy?
Y'all can educate the people in your life now.
It's just wild to me. Because I remember seeing and hearing news articles, news reports.
Every year you hear it.
Every year you hear poison Halloween candy. Check
in fact,
for it.
Fun time.
Yeah.
Send us your local Halloween things after Halloween for candy or other stuff like that. Everybody, we have them in different places. Sometimes we hear about in Colorado. Sometimes we hear in different states.
Oh, that's
So
what we're
after this
talking
episode's we're Tuesday, Halloween's on Thursday.
about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this weekend. If you guys get any of those, just go ahead and shoot it off to the Justice for podcast, the Facebook page or Instagram. Just
Yeah.
message it to us. I want to see them.
It's
I want to
just-
see what goes on this year with the mass hysteria in the media.
Isn't it crazy, though?
Yeah,
There's not a single report of it.
that's insane for how much this is a narrative of our childhood.
Yeah.
And, like, as a
Yeah.
parent, I check every single piece of her Halloween candy.
Mm-hmm.
Every piece.
Mm-hmm. So, the untimely death of Timmy O'Bryan promoted the sale of individually wrapped brand name candies and discouraged people from giving homemade treats to children.
I still got hella popcorn balls as a kid.
Bro, I fucking love those popcorn
Fucking
balls,
loved it.
though.
And then, like, the little, like, the moms who did, like, the gloves full of popcorn.
I never had them.
Oh yeah, we had them.
You had those?
Oh yeah. I can't imagine putting that much effort.
Absolutely not.
Not nowadays, but...
Do you remember the Popcorn Factory? Like, you bought it in, like,
Oh,
a magazine
yeah,
and shit?
yeah.
Their popcorn balls, heaven. Chef's kiss. So good. But yeah, that's, like, the one video I always enjoy and I will always share is, like, a guy, I think it was a Vine, that the guy was like, hey guys, remember to check your kids' Halloween candy, and he's going through it and there's a Nickelback CD. I love that shit.
No, Vine days.
I miss it.
But yeah, I did not know about that.
Yes.
That's an interesting history to learn about.
Yes. So I'm happy that I was able to educate all of you on all of this. I mean, if you still want to check your kids' candy, please do.
Oh, I'm still doing it because
Please
it's part
do.
of me now. It's in my DNA.
Absolutely. But with all of this being said, I feel like we did get justice for Timothy O'Bryan.
Yeah, because the whole freaking world checks Halloween candy now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But that is my episode for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it very much. You got some knowledge as well as a fun story.
I did enjoy it
Not a
because
fun
before
story.
today, my only knowledge of the Candyman came from Aqua. So, I am the Candyman.
I love it. I love it so much. But, so you kind of mentioned this earlier. There is a couple movies that are out called Candyman. One of them is not like a paranormal type, but the guy in it is based off of Ronald
Okay.
O'Bryan. So, like, they largely based it off of him. So, if you want to watch it, I feel like I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
No, this
So-
is fun. This is a good little Halloween episode.
It was a good Halloween episode. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. Please go like, subscribe, share, all of the things.
And if you haven't been on our TikTok this month, you should go check out some TikToks in these outfits because
Agree.
they're prime.
We had a really good time. I'm sweating my ass off.
We are
while I
sweating
was
because we did
doing
it. We did TikToks before this episode, so we're like dying.
I was sweating.
But check those out. It's worth it.
Bro, I literally can't take you seriously in this mustache, though.
Anyway, if you haven't liked, follow, or subscribed to us anywhere, please do.
Yes.
Get more of this.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok,
Everywhere.
everywhere, man. Please go.
Leave us a comment, leave us a review. Let's
All
talk
of
about this
it.
stuff. We love having discussions with y'all.
Yes, and if for some reason you decide you don't want to do that, that's cool, that's fine. But if there is a case you want us to cover, please go check us out on our website, justiceforpodcast.com. There you can see our resources page with any help you may need. You can submit cases on there, even if it's ones that you don't want to research, but you want us to do, we will. We also have all of our episodes and pictures.
Yes, go check us out.
Yes, that's our case for you today. Please, please, please have a very safe and fun Halloween
Yes.
day and weekend. And
We can't wait to see all
All
of
of
your
the
guys'
things.
outfits.
please send us pictures of your outfits.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we love you guys. Okay.
Bye.